Welcome to the video cast Books, Kids, and Creations with Tracy Blom. And today I am really excited to speak with the one and only Shary Williamson, who is the author of the Woodland Elves Series. And I am just so excited to have her here today. Welcome, Shary.
Oh, thank you. It is absolutely so exciting to be here with you. And I'm really glad we got to meet in person yesterday.
Yes.
So that was wonderful.
Yes, we did. We are both in Ohio, and we both have had some work at similar art fairs before. And so it was just really nice to meet you in person and see just some of your books and some of your wonderful creations. Today, we're going to be talking about all that you create, especially things that inspire children and help just bring some magic and joy to this planet. You're amazing. So let's start off and talk about, so you have been inspiring children. It's nothing new for you. You were a teacher for 40 years, so you've been inspiring kids for a long time. What had you change or shift into writing children's books?
Well, I loved every single moment of all 40 years I taught. I thoroughly enjoyed that. But at some point, you know, it's time to retire. And I have to tell you that teachers never fully retire. They just find a new way to teach. And I'm kind of a high energy person. And so my retirement lasted approximately an hour and a half. And then I went into, okay, what am I going to do next with my life that has some significance? And so that's where I went. But I will tell you the real reason. I mean, there are many reasons why I switched to writing children's books. Well, for one, it was in my computer from decades ago when I said, when I retire, what do I want to do? And the number one thing on my list was write children's books. And so when I discovered, okay, now is the time of my life to do that. But the real reason, when it came down to the nuts and bolts, the real reason I wanted to do this is because I know one of the greatest legacies that we can leave behind is joy. It's just joy. And we can pass that along at any age, under any set of circumstances. It doesn't matter what the rest of the world is doing. We can share joy, and that's a choice that we make. And my choice was, even though I'm the grandmother of the group at 75 years old, even though I'm the grandmother, I still have the ability to make that choice. What do I want to do? And I just decided I do want to continue to pass the joy of life around, because it is important. It is important in this very troubled world to continue to do something to make a difference. So, and I understand that this is a digital world, but I still know the importance of books and sharing those moments. And it is still, to this day, it's still the top, or one of the top indicators of how a child's success is going to be in school. How much his parents read to him or her and read with them. It is still one of, if not the top indicator of how a child, of his success in school. So I do want to encourage, I don't care how many digital books there are, I still like the hardback. Let's do this together. Let me put my arm around you and read together. So that's the real reason. I just still want to be able to pass the joy of life around. That's the bottom line of that.
Now, these books right here are just full of joy and magic. I read every single one and was just like, I felt like you took me into this whole new world of just, it was like walking into the forest and feeling the magic of being in nature in every story. And there's just this awe and this magic. Can you talk about what inspired the Woodland Elves series?
Yeah, you know what? And I really can, but I have to tell you, a large part is just what you mentioned. A large part of this whole project is nature. And I want kids to always rediscover the magic in nature. And I get very concerned when I go to a restaurant and I see whole families of people on their cell phones, and they're not communicating with one another. And when the kids go home, they're glued to a TV, a computer screen, something. And I want to be part of getting kids letting them experience the magic of being out in nature and feeling it, and sharing that inspiration, collecting moments, not things,
Yeah.
making moments
Yeah.
special that they'll remember forever, and connecting with somebody special in the woods. And and we'll talk about this later, but we do have an adventure trail. The kids are not allowed to come alone. Nobody comes alone. They come with a family member. They come with a parent, grandparents, aunts, and uncles, because I want them to experience this together. I want them to be curious about nature. I want them to explore. I want them to get excited about nature. So, nature obviously is a huge part of it. And, the intention behind it was very simple. I just want to make a small, positive difference in the world. And I had written that before I ever started writing the books. I wrote down, why would I even do this at this age in my life? Because I want to make a small positive difference in the world. I didn't say a small positive difference with my family or Ohio or the United States. I said the world. And when that is your specific intention, it came true. And here we are, 7 or 8 years into it, and we're in 92 countries and all 7 continents, which we'll talk about later too. But it all comes down to the intention. Why are you doing this? And why do you want to inspire people? So
I
Nate,
love it. And I love that every book that you have has a different experience in the same, more or less, the same set of woods or with the same elves and the same trees. But
yes,
there's a different experience that happens every time, and it changes with the seasons. And it's so meaningful. And there's these powerful lessons interwoven into the stories. And I just was just like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. So, what are some of the lessons that you've tactfully woven into your stories that are some of your favorites?
I tell you, it was very important to me, and partly because I went back, like I told you before, I just feel like it's a really troubled world. And it is my responsibility to do whatever I can to help in this. So I know that I have opportunities along the way, and I'm gonna take those opportunities. And I do know your voice, my voice, everybody's voice makes a difference. And so I consider the elves and fairies to be the messengers. They are the messengers of joy. They are the messengers of love and peace and oneness and compassion. So through every book, as you have read, I try to incorporate the values that I think are really important for children to know right now. Um, Connection, communication, harmony. One of the lessons, I don't think a child is ever too young or too old to learn we are one in this world together. I am not standing alone. I am going to work with everybody. And I want kids to know, when I say we are one in this world, it's not just human beings, it's animals, it's plants, it's everything. We are all one. And if we destroy our planet, we destroy everything. And so I want them to learn to take care of our planet, take care of what they have in their own backyard. And it's just, the whole
Yeah.
message is very simple. It's just about oneness. It's just about oneness, and continue to believe in miracles. And the other thing, one of the messages I want kids to know is you don't always have to see something to believe it. I believe the fairies are there. I may or may not have seen them, but in my heart, I believe they're there. And so sometimes we can't grasp the fact that there is a bigger concept out there. I may not see it, but I believe it. And so I don't think kids are too young to learn that message too. But that's why I just really want to help create an extraordinary life for children and allow them to remember the important things in life, the important messages, and not get too far off track in this day and age. I want them to always be able to come back to what's that all about. It's about love. It's about compassion. It's about connection and communication. So, yep, that's, in a nutshell, that's where I went with that. That's why I did that.
One of your other books, so I love this one, the Buried Treasure book.
Yeah.
Is one of my favorites of your whole series. I don't know why, but I just found it really cool that, the elves go to the beach and they meet other elves that are not like them. It's a, tribal. They come from the, the palm trees. They come out of the jungle, and they find this connection through friendship and through joy and just wanting to build a sandcastle together. And I think just that simple lesson right there was so neat, because, how often do we meet people that aren't like us, or maybe don't speak the same language as us? Yeah. And was there an experience that you had that evoked that part of the story?
Well, there was. I mean, the real truth behind that is our daughter and her family live in Florida. And so the area where they live encompasses a lot more uniqueness than Marion and Delaware, Ohio. And so when our grandchildren go back and forth, I love it. I absolutely love it. And so I wanted the elves to take that journey. Where they are here in the beginning 2 books is in the one and only forest. The one and only forest right here. But I wanted them to realize the world is full of other forests. And they don't look like your forest, but we're part of the same family. So I wanted them to get to know, let's branch out. You don't stay in your cocoon. Let's branch out. But yeah, there was a very specific incident that happened in my life, but my entire life I've been dealing with that. But one thing, when I was a freshman in college, and I'm going to try to tell this story fast, but I was working in the Catskill Mountains, and I was the program director for an international camping experience for very disadvantaged children from New York City, and we brought them out 2 weeks at a time in buses. Well, since this is an international organization, for some reason, the kitchen crew all over the United States decided they were going to go on strike. But they went on strike at the time. The director and assistant director of this camp, where I was in the Catskills, they were married, and they were having marital discord. And they said, Shary, we're going to take a week off, and you'll be in charge. And can you just take care of 500 kids? And I said, yeah, I can do that. I've got it under control. And probably the day they left is when around the United States, all these camps went on strike. The kitchen went on strike, and they locked up the lodge, and they locked up everything. No keys, no refrigerators, no food. I have trouble fixing dinner for 2. I am the world's worst cook. And for me to be figuring out how am I going to feed 500 children until the director and assistant director come back. And all of a sudden I thought, okay, here we go. I need somebody in charge of making campfires. I need somebody in charge of going to get food. I need somebody in charge of preparing the food. I need somebody, to do this. And the list was endless. And every camp counselor, and all the counselors were from around the world too. Everybody jumped in and they did their part. And it became one of the most wonderful experiences of the camp. The kids never really understood that the kitchen crew was on strike. They thought this was part of their camping experience. Little did they know. and that was my first real experience with, guess what? If everybody does their part, look what happens. Look what you can do when you work as a team. So I will tell you, teamwork has been a huge part of the Woodland Elves ever since the beginning. And I have always said, if you want to go far, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go with a team and take the best team you can possibly take. And that's really important to me because most people, because I'm the one that's chatty, I'm the one that does the talking. Most people think of the Woodland Elves, Shary. But we actually have 45 people on our team. And the other two that are really well known are our illustrator is fabulous, Jay Johnston, and our musician and creative director, Russ Kendall. And so it's the three of us basically, but guess what? We have an editor in one state. We have a printer in Minnesota. We do the music in New Jersey. We have print page formatters in Arizona. There are 12 states involved in the production of those books. And then there's the
Wow.
who was it that built the trail? And who was it that donated all the fences that go all the way? And who was it that did, who was it that worked with me in Guatemala to have that was Monica Rubio. She is a teacher and she got the artisans from Guatemala City to make the beautiful bookmarks. But there have been people everywhere who are part of our team. And so teamwork is just enormous. We have volunteers who help on the trail all the time, retired doctors and nurses, retired teachers, retired friends, and they all make it so much better. The experience then becomes just magnificent for children because so many people are involved. So teamwork's a huge part of so it goes back to, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go with the team.
You have a nice team. And with the trail that you mentioned, can you talk about that? Because I've seen pictures of it and I'm hoping to see it this summer, but talk about this magical trail that you created after you started with the books.
I'll tell you, one of the things we did early on, we created a trail. It's in the back of our yard. We live in a wooded area. And we'd lived here 34 years before we ever even realized if somebody would dig through, and I thought I had a map close by, and I don't right now. I can't find it. But at any rate, our neighbor literally did the manual labor, and it's got 34 tons of crushed brick lining, and we have like 12 stations, a nature preserve, a bird sanctuary, a friendship bridge. There are all kinds of things all around the trail. And so kids would come with their families. I mean, we had school buses pull up in our residential area. We've had people from several states come over with their families. It's always with the families. And they take this map. It's like a 2.5-hour adventure. And so take their map. And that's why in The Secret in the Forest, you notice there was maps. I noticed the kids love with maps. And so they would take their maps, and I have a scavenger hunt with about 100 elf-related items hidden out on the trail. And so there's street signs all the way through the trail. And so they go one street sign to the next, and they find but they're looking, they're searching, they're working with their family. They're using observational skills to try to find all these things on this scavenger hunt. And one of these stations out there, we had someone build a huge outdoor television station. And we got some microphones. Russ helped me, make these microphones. WELF TV, ELF TV. And the kids get in this television, and they have their microphones, and they know, okay, now you're on TV now. And so they will get on their microphone. I am in the one and only forest. And guess what I saw? I saw 12 elves, and 3 of them had red hats. 2 of them had blue hats. And I will tell you all their outfits they were wearing. And they go into the most amazing detail of what they have literally seen on the trail. They will describe the elf houses, and they will stay there as long as they can, and they always go back to that because they want to be the announcer again. Now, one of the interesting stories there was that we posted something on Facebook many years ago of somebody on their microphone, and I get a call from somebody in California, some man in California who thinks it's a real radio station, a real television station. And it took me about an hour to convince him, no, you don't understand. Look at the end of the cord. I mean, There's nothing else. It's not attached to anything. These are children using their imagination and creativity. And that's the point of it. Let's let children use their imaginations. Let's let them be creative. Those are such important qualities we don't want kids to lose. It's not a real TV station. It's not real. But we had convinced him just by that little video. So we love the trail. That's just one of the many pieces and parts to the whole thing. But we love the adventure trail. I think that's something kids really remember. And the other thing that we have that goes along with that is the Enchanted Village. And we have a separate building with an Enchanted Village. And there's music and special lights. And we've had a lot of
cool
experiences with that, because most of the countries of the teachers that they're all teachers that come over from other countries, from 92 countries. Most of them have been here to our home, and some of them have stayed up to 5 weeks at a time. But they will go out. Some of the most tender moments I could share. 2 teachers specifically stand out in my mind who went out in the Enchanted Village. One was from Yemen, and in the middle of the war in Yemen, she literally just sat down and cried because she said, I have forgotten how to dream. I have forgotten the magic of being able. She said, we live in a war zone, and our day consists of trying to stay alive. And I've forgotten all about the joy of being able to dream. And she just sat there and wept. And another teacher from another Middle Eastern country also did the same thing. She sat down and wept because she said it brought back every good and wonderful and warm memory of her grandmother holding her when she was a child and telling her stories. And her grandmother had long since passed. And she said, this just reminds me of my grandmother who made up stories. And that memory, she said, I'd forgotten that memory. And now to be reminded. And so, a lot of people, I could share stories till noon tomorrow and never stop. But there are so many wonderful, wonderful stories to share.
And I bet you have some magical stories to share have there been unexplained occurrences out in the one and only forest?
I'm not even sure I would know where to begin. There are so many. I would start with those that I just told you, because what I have been working with, I've been working with the United States Department of State. And the story is really too long to share, and they have been here. They have sent representatives from Washington, D.C. here. And so what I work with is about 25 teachers at a time. They're all English teachers. And they have all been selected as the one most outstanding English teacher from their country. And so where I might be dealing with 25 countries at a time, they're all English speaking teachers. And so they come here to learn, about our education system, and then they take it back home. But the experiences, the fairy tale, the whole thing is sort of like stardust, like magic and stardust, and the magical gardens and everything that goes along with it. So one of the fun experiences always is I always carry with me a little teeny tiny elf hat in my pocket. And so I usually pull that out when I start to talk to the children before they ever go out on the trail. Now, I want to show you, if you walk slowly and quietly down the trail, you have to be really careful not to step on any elves because they're so tiny. But look what I found. And I hold out this little tiny elf hat, and their faces are because they automatically, before they ever step one foot, they believe. They absolutely believe. And the entrance sign, we have an entrance to the trail that says, for those who see with their hearts, dreams begin here. And
Oh,
so,
cool.
I always talk to the kids about it. You have to see with your hearts. There is no running on the trail. You have to walk. You have to go slowly. And they, like I said, they love that. They love the whole experience, the entire experience. And one of them, there's so many magical moments, but one of them, which I told you, we have these coins, and they're called One Wish coins.
Oh,
And I had gone to a school present. Oh, yes, thank you. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you showed that. Yeah, little good. Thank you. One little things make big things happen. And I gave them to the children at this school, and this one little girl afterwards came up to me, and she said, "Miss Shary, I need to know if wishes do come true. I need to know if this coin is real. I need to know if I can make a wish, might it come true?" So I had to explain to her, well, yes, wishes, you can make your own wishes come true if you work really hard and believe in yourself. And it doesn't mean they're going to come true today or this week or next year, but keep believing in yourself and you can make your wishes come true. And she said, well, then I'm going to give this coin to my grandmother for Christmas because I don't have any money to buy her a gift. I want to give her my wish. Now, my Russ and I were going, we were just, the tears were just rolling. I didn't even know what to say, except, well, you get another coin for yourself then. Yeah. And I tell you, one of the magical moments for me was in your own county when we had been asked to go to Buckeye Valley East. And unbeknownst to me, when we walked in that school, first of all, the entire school, every inch of that school was decorated from top to bottom. The principal bought elf hats for every child. So every child was wearing an elf hat with ears. The art teacher,
oh, cool.
with every teacher. So every classroom door was fabulous. She had three-dimensional trees going from the floor to the ceiling. The whole school looked fabulous.
That's awesome.
The music teacher had taught them the theme song, which is the third one on the CD, We Are One. And so hundreds of kids came in and they were singing our theme song. The staff had made this fabulous lunch geared around the forest and elf. So for me, that was a magical moment because I could not believe that everybody had worked together. Art teacher, music teacher, class.
I would have cried.
All the, yeah. And I did. I mean, I just wept because I felt so honored. And the children were already into it. They were all, even before I even had to open my mouth. So it was just an absolutely incredible experience. So I have great memories of Buckeye Valley East, but I've been to schools, all over the United States and the Yucatan Peninsula. I was invited to come down to Mexico and speak down there. And obviously that was a magical moment for me for a different reason. In months of communication, the one thing that we assumed and never asked each other was, who speaks English there? And so when a limousine comes to pick me up, and 2.5 hours later, we arrive at this school, hundreds and hundreds of children and students. It is not until that moment I realized there's not one person there who speaks a word of English. And I speak a word of Spanish. And so in a split second, you realize, okay, switch gears. How am I going to inspire them to feel the magic when we're not on the same wavelength? And as it turned out, the owner of the limousine company happened by and he came in and said, is everything okay in here? And the teacher explained to him that we couldn't communicate. And he said, you know what? I'm just going to take he was dressed in a tux. And he said, how about if I just take the day off and I will be your interpreter for as long as many days as you want. I will just be your partner, and I will do
So
the.
nice.
And so, you know, I never believe in coincidence. I always think things happen for a reason. So for me, that was a magical moment because I really needed help. And 10 minutes into it, here comes help, because I really don't know what I would have done. But I could tell stories of children and teachers where you see their facial expressions. I don't even have to hear the words. I can see their faces when they realize I saw an elf. And this is what he did. And then they will share with me conversations that they had with the elves. And
Oh,
then
that's cool.
the elves said to them and what they said back. And then they'll draw me pictures. And so it's really neat because they believe so much. And
Yeah.
so for me, that just makes it all so exciting and so worthwhile. So yeah, those are a few
Yeah.
magical moments, but there's so many. I couldn't, if you allowed me, I'd talk, like I said, for days, but I'll save some of the stories for another time.
Another time. No, but that's great. Those are fantastic stories. I mean, even the fact that I love that you have music that goes along with your books, and that the school already knew the songs and they were all prepared. And then you added into your most recent books, you added QR codes, right? That take you to the music.
We did. Yes, what started
That's so
off,
neat.
yeah, well, oddly enough, it actually worked in reverse because Russ and I started on the music even before I had started writing the book. And so, we went from the music to writing the book. We added that adventure trail. Then we added the Enchanted Village. Now, one of the things we also added was, I don't have that in front of me either, a card game, Small Talk, it's called.
Oh,
And it's 52 cards where I gave Jay Johnston 52 emotions: love, fear, joy, happiness, forgiveness. And he painted an elf or fairy face with that emotion. And on the flip side, I wrote a very short story about that emotion with 2 questions at the bottom that children could not answer with yes or no. They had to discuss it. And that is used all over the United States in guidance counselor classes, and actually in Yemen. When Yemen was, well, they still are, but at war, some of the doctors in the hospital in the capital city used that card game, Small Talk, in English. I mean, the children were too young, so they did it in Arabic to try to get the children to talk about their fears and talk about those different emotions. So it's gone all over. So then we went to Small Talk. One other thing I didn't even tell you, we had something called the Parade of Gnomes homes. You know how they have the Parade of Homes all over in all different cities?
awesome.
We did a Parade of Gnomes homes.
Yeah.
And 5 different states jumped in and joined us. And so children were allowed to work with their parents or grandparents, and they had to build an elf-sized home out of sticks or stones or shells or anything. It was the most fabulous. I mean, there were hundreds of these gorgeous homes. So we built a village out of all these homes. And so that was neat. And then it got down to the QR codes. And I don't know why we didn't think of it in the beginning, but all of a sudden at the end, the last 2 books, we decided, let's put a QR code on every page. So I brought another team member in to do that. And so Russ taped me reading each page, and Russ and I did a little music on them too. And so all children can actually hear the author reading the books. And those last, we really loved that. And I don't know how we might be able to figure out a way to go back and, do something with the first 3 books in the series so they can do that too. But at any rate, we love the QR code. The kids all love the QR code. Actually, the parents love the QR codes. And I'll tell you why. And somebody was over at the house last night telling me about that in their family, because not all parents, not all grandparents, aunts and uncles are really expressive when they read. They aren't comfortable with that. But if the
right.
but if the author is reading it, well, that makes it a little easier for them.
Yeah.
So, it's but they're still with them and they're still together. So it's not like you're dumping them. So they're still doing it together. They sort of like having having somebody hear the author read. So that was kind of neat.
Yeah.
So I love the QR codes. Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah. And then you had mentioned these really wonderful handmade bookmarks
Yeah.
that you had made.
Yes.
They're really beautiful, and they have, a little leather top here that says the Woodland Elves. There's a wish doll here. And you worked with another team. I love that you just have this humongous team that all works toward this wonderful cause of inspiring children and spreading joy and hope and magic. Who made these?
There was one of the teachers from Guatemala who stayed in our home, and her name was Monica Rubio, and she is magnificent. And to this day, thanks to all the wonderful ease of being able to communicate with each other, we call each other. So we still talk to each other on the phone. But she worked with the artisans of Guatemala City, and she encouraged them. Of course, the little dolls in the end, they're called the worry dolls. And the philosophy behind the worry dolls is, if you have a worry at night, you take that little doll, you tell your doll the worry, put it under your pillow, and when you wake up in the morning, the worry is gone. Now, can you hold that, Tracy, back up again, and let me. So Monica had the artisans. One person made the doll. One person did the leather work that said the Woodland Elves. One person did the braiding. One person did the weaving, that beautiful weaving. And one person the heavy backing in the middle. So even down in Guatemala City, they were able to use multiple talents and multiple people. And I sent her money, so she paid the artisans, and she got paid herself. And so it was a win-win-win. And then we ended up with a beautiful bookmark. So it was a win-win situation. So so she so she was one of many people. We just have so many wonderful people that one of the teachers that stayed here was from Nigeria, and she went back to Nigeria and had the whole school. It was a girls' school, and she turned the Woodland Elves book into a play, and the school presented the Woodland Elves play to the village.
That's amazing. I feel like it should be a theatrical production. I mean, I can just see it with the fairy houses and the trees and the tree house and all the magic and the wonder and fairies and
you and I are on such a same page.
Yes, I feel like it should be.
I know that you can see that. And let's see, where was that? It was in New Delhi, India. One of the magnificent teachers there that I just love took the 10th grade teachers in her school district and the 3rd grade teachers and paired them together and had the 10th graders practice reading English to the 3rd graders so they could hear English. And so she had 10th and 3rd graders working together and I love that. So she had sent me pictures of that. So there are lots of countries that have taken the books back to their schools and done really, really interesting things with them. And I just love them all.
There's also some neat topics in the stories. I know that there's one that's very relevant, which is bullying. You have a bully in one of your stories. And that bully gets taken out of town. I just think the names are so clever. You have Snarly Coyote in one, and I love, this is so cool. So Snarly Coyote in the story is, this big bad coyote, and the little elves are so tiny that they feel like their single voice can't, back him down, but then they hum together, and their collective voice scares the wolf off or the coyote off. And I just thought how relevant, with everything in the world today, the collective voice coming forward and saying,
Right.
change, or, not anymore. So,
And part,
very cool.
There are a lot of stories that have very specific meanings for me. And specifically with that one, with the snarly coyote, I am so saddened by the suicide rate in teenagers that continues to rise. And so part of the motivation for that chapter was there's always a solution to a problem. No matter how big a problem you are faced with, if you just give it a little more thought, there's always a solution. There's always a better way to do something. And I want to make sure that message gets out when the kids are any age. And if they read that chapter, you can come up with a different interpretation almost every time you read it. But one of them was for children to realize teamwork, work together, find a way to solve your problem as a team. It's not going to work by yourself, but as a team, it will. And know that every problem does have a solution. You just have to.
I love it.
Yeah. So that was part of the motivation behind that. And then, I don't know. Did you read the chapter about Me, the little girl named Me, the fairy named Me?
Yeah.
Love the
Yes.
fairy Me, who is her own fairy. She is her own unique personality, and she's not going to back down. And I love that because I want kids to be themselves. They don't have to try to be somebody else. And we've got to accept everybody and love everybody. And Me, and the reason she's named Me is because when other elves and the fairies in the forest would say, who are you? She said, I'm Me, and that's good enough.
Yeah.
And so
I love it.
Me.
I love that she's different looking too.
Yes. And the bully chapter was that's a really big thing for me too, because it just is so hurtful to see the way people are treating one another. And it seems to be becoming more accepted, and I don't like that. I just think we need to be going in the direction. We need to be more kind and more loving and more compassionate instead of continuing to bully or berate people. And so that's why I did that chapter, just so you know what.
I love it. I love it.
So
something else I was wondering. So here is your winter book.
Yes.
And this story, I'll just open it up so we can share some of the magical illustrations in here. I'll find my favorite page.
Okay.
This scene right here, it's a snowball fight, but you can see so much detail in here. And even the snowman has elf ears. And I sat and I stared at this page and all of the pages for quite some time because it just seemed like there was little hidden meanings. And it was almost like I just wondered how closely, you and your illustrator have to be like this because your words and what is portrayed are just, it's like they're so in sync and so magical. And I just felt like I was constantly finding new things on the page and little stories behind them. And I just love it so much. Like the little cannon here, and there's the guy with the jug, and it seemed like everything had a purpose.
Jay Johnston, my illustrator, is absolutely the most amazing artist, as you can already tell. And Jay and I are neighbors and friends. And so I would write a page, and then I would take it over to Jay and said, this is the way I envision this. And how do you envision it? And so most authors don't have that privilege of being able to work with the illustrator, but we do. And so Jay would paint something that the way he interpreted it, and then I would, maybe go back and change some of the words. On that particular book, that whole book, A Magical Tale of Winter, that includes every one of my favorite childhood memories in that book of Christmas. And so, yeah, those are actually all of our grandchildren and Jay's daughter. So all the way through all 5 books, that's one of the secrets. Those are actually all of our grandkids and Jay's daughter all the way through. But at any rate, the snowball fight, one of my favorite memories that I lived in a neighborhood of almost all boys. And there was one girl at least. But my dad, with the first big snow, we had a huge backyard, and he would get the entire neighborhood out, and they would build snow forts. And we had, every year, we had these fabulous snowball fights in the backyard. My dad, like the snowball fight coach. And it became the most animated and fun thing to look forward to. And that's why that particular chapter was in there. Because like every one of those chapters in that Magical Tale of Winter was a distinct memory of something that I enjoyed at Christmas. Oh, and that's the book also where it's the adopted dog in the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
And I put that in there because I'm actually an adopted child. And so I wanted to open up the topic of, let's be able to talk about adoption, but I wanted to put it in a child's reference. And so I put that in because the dog was adopted, but it would at least open up the conversation for let's talk about adoption and the importance of that. Yeah. And
I like the dog just comes right into the family too. And it was meant to be, like you said, everything has, there's no coincidences and everything's meant to be.
Right.
And one other page in here that I thought was so, my family always made Christmas cookies every year. And I love this image right here of them in the kitchen with all just the detail in here of all the elves helping with the cookies and the flour and the decorations. And just was so, every piece is so just heartwarming of this story.
And you can see in that exact illustration, one of the elves fell in the icing. One of the elves icing bowl. One of the elves fell in the in the flour. One of the elves dropped an egg. His details are absolutely incredible. And a lot of the words that I have used were my exact grandmother or mother's words, as I recalled, because mother was real. They were both, real precise and picky, and there's no dilly-dallying. A lot of those words, they are not going to dilly-dally. We're going to get down to this and do it, and we're not going to waste time. And I love that illustration. I love that illustration too. And let me see here. There was on the back on this page, my very favorite Christmas song is "Peace on Earth," but that I put the elves going to celebrate in in something that my great grandfather actually had, the sleigh, and I had real bells from that sleigh. But they would go to church on Christmas Eve in the sleigh, and so every time that's why I had to include that particular illustration in there. But every page has secrets. Every page has personal messages. And in one of, I'm thinking it might be the third book, Secret in the Forest. There's a tree who comes to life and talks to the kids, and it's called, the name of that tree was the name of my favorite class building at Miami University.
Oh,
So they're just little stories. They're
that's
just
sweet.
little hidden messages all the way through the book. And it's just kind of exciting to be able to share imagination with the kids and see them get caught up in it and have them enjoy it with me.
Yeah. And so with the last year, I know a lot of us have changed how we're, interacting with people due to COVID. And you are going to schools and having a lot of in-person interactions. How's it changed for you? And how are you still persevering and getting that joy out there through your work?
Well, obviously everything changed enormously for everybody. And I knew that. And so I thought, okay, what I can continue to do is Zoom. So I've been Zooming all over the world for the entire year. But we've also posted several things on Facebook, several musical messages, several activities for the kids where I'm talking to the kids back in the beginning of this when everybody was just trapped at home and they didn't know how to deal with it. And so I was posting some fun things on Facebook about that. But I guess part of what I know in my heart is that one of the world's biggest lies that we buy into sometimes is that we have no control over our lives, that it's determined by fate or circumstances or where we live or how much money we have or circumstances, and we have no control. But the truth is that we do. And part of the truth of this whole COVID is that the whole world, it wasn't just us, it was everybody was experiencing the same emotions, the same feelings, the same things. And so I knew that I must continue to be enthusiastically, unstoppably happy in sharing a message out there, because if ever it was important, it was this year to share
Right.
that, even though I couldn't be in person. So I want to be able to help everybody live out their dream. I hope I'm a good example to everybody. You can follow your dream at any age. It really doesn't matter. And I certainly want our grandchildren to know when I kicked the bucket, I've done everything I wanted to do, and I've done the best I could, and I'm going to continue to follow my dream and be an example. So I hope that I'm an example for other people that we can always find a way somehow, even in circumstances like this, to make the world a little bit kinder, a little bit more loving, a little more peaceful. And it's my responsibility to do what I can. So the only way I've been able to do that, Tracy, is like we are doing right now, by sharing.
Yes.
But fortunately, it's able to be done because of Zooming, because of your program that you're on. We can do it. So we can find a positive message to say, we're getting closer to the sunlight coming back, and we can hang in there a little bit longer. But it comes down to teamwork. Everybody's got to do their part. And
I just had
yeah.
I just had this visual of like elves wearing masks, like
Oh,
little mini elf masks.
yeah, yeah. I can't tell you how many people have told me that. Are the elves wearing masks? Are the elves wearing their masks? Yeah, yeah. Oh, I wish I could pull that picture of us up yesterday with our masks on. I don't think I can pull it up fast enough, but it sure was funny. Yeah, it
That
was.
was.
Yeah.
So
Here,
as far as
like, I don't know. Can we see that? There we are.
oh yeah, that's us in our masks.
And there we are in
We
our mask.
were at GNR Tavern
in
Waldo.
Waldo. Yeah. So that's where we met halfway, and that was so exciting. And that's when I knew I had a soul sister right close by. I can't wait. So I'm really proud of what you're doing.
Well, thank you, but I am so thrilled to have met you and to learn about everything that you're doing and you're still doing. As far as new projects, do you have new projects on the horizon?
Well, I always keep a vision board close by. And of course, unfortunately, as the case may be, my mind rarely stops. And so, do I have a project? The answer would be, how many projects do I have? And I would have to live
Yeah.
to be 120 to get them all done. But I can see. I mean, I'm going to start writing again, and I'm going to start doing some 15-minute little programs for children on, yeah, on YouTube. But I can also see the movie. I can see the Woodland Elf movie. I can see the Woodland Elf theme park.
That would be amazing. I would go.
Probably not in my lifetime, but I can see it. I can see it. So I've already put my grandkids on. Okay, think ahead. We're getting started on the movie. You can understand.
Right.
Because you get that. Yeah. And the play or
Yes.
the musical or whatever. So Russ and I keep writing music, and Jay and I keep thinking, okay, where are we going next? What are we going to do next? So yeah, I mean, yes, I mean, it just continues. And I hope that I can keep that spirit and set an example
Yes.
of life is meant to be enjoyed. Life is meant to be enjoyed. In spite of everything that's going on, it's still meant to be enjoyed. And, I'm going to set as many examples as I can for as long as I can.
Yeah. And I love that you're doing workshops for kids and you do all kinds of things to help kids develop, their writing workshops. You have all kinds of different things you offer for schools. And I know you're going to have a very busy upcoming year. I know you're just as busy as ever, but it's really neat to see everything that you're doing to change the world and inspire kids and really open their minds to joy and happiness and creativity.
Thank you. And I know you're doing the same thing. And I love seeing that. I love seeing the younger generation, meaning you, on that same path. We're on a parallel path and we're heading the same direction. And I love that. And like I said, I would hope that I could be an inspiration to anybody of any age to do something, anything to make the world kinder, more peaceful, happier, more loving. And I think we're heading. I hope together we can all do that.
Yeah.
So it is just my pleasure.
And if people want,
I'm excited for
and
you.
if people want to learn more about you, oh well. I'm just like you. I have like a million things going on all the time. It's like, like your point, like, oh, what more can I do? It's always like, okay, let's try to write a play. Let's try to write a screenplay. Let's try to, everything. So
that's what as soon as I met you, I thought, two peas in a pod. We've got two peas in a pod here, where we're right there together. Okay, now if people would like the book, I'm going to recommend a couple things. First of all, I'm going to give you my phone number, because I love to have people call me directly or text me and say, this is what I want, because then I can personalize everything. So I will put to the person's name and with love from grandma and grandpa, whatever, and I will sign it and date it. So my cell phone number is 740-225-8391. And I love to have people contact me. So that's one way. My email address is Shary. My name is spelled funny. It's SHARY at Roadrunner, spelled out ROADRUNNER.com. Shary at Roadrunner.com. I'm also on Facebook, and a lot of people just contact me through Facebook. And again, it's that SHARY Williamson. And the other way is our website. And there's tons of information on the website. And that is www.tracyblom, all put together, all lowercase, no caps, all put together in one word, the Woodland Elves, plural, the Woodland Elves. So it's www.thewoodlands.com. Oh, the Woodland Elves, yeah, ELVES.com.
And
Yeah.
we'll have this all in the comments section of the YouTube video too, so people can click, and I'll put it all in the Facebook too.
And I just
So
love
everyone will find you.
Yeah. No, I know that we will keep in touch, and I always love to expand my heart and make new friends. And of course, once your heart has expanded, it never returns to its former dimensions. So my heart just keeps growing and growing to include new family members all over the world, and I love that. And I love you, Tracy.
Well,
I'm so glad to meet you, and it has just been, here we go. Here comes the next adventure.
adventure. And I am so appreciative to have you on today. Thank you so much, Shary, and best of luck in everything you do. And thank you so much for all you do to make the world a better place and inspire future generations.
Thank you so much. I love you. And just, we're going to make it. We're going to do this together. We're going to make a happier, more peaceful world together. That's what it's all about. Yes. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.